I'm ready to give up with 2042, and it's a shame to really say that. But every time I launch the game, every time I start playing the game, it just takes me 10 minutes to remind myself how much I dislike the game. Back when it was being advertised and marketed, I thought I was going to be getting, a more refined Battlefield 4, and I was kind of okay with that. Because the steps forward visually and gameplay wise that they'd made for Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 in terms of adding extra steps of movement, adding extra steps for gunplay, extra steps for atmosphere. It just felt like if they could take that and put it into 2042, it would be a marvelous game. It would be a fantastic game. And, well, let's just say that we have none of that. The gunplay has been toned down so much in this game that, well, there's just clearly too much of a meta, and that it's just not going to change because they want to cater more for the casual audience. Screw the hardcore community. We want casuals to play our game because we want player counts. We want more money. Doesn't matter what the hardcore player base thinks or says, we'll ignore them. If the casual wants to change, then we'll change it for the casuals. When did this game become Rainbow Six Siege again? No, I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. So, one of the major issues I have with the game right now is just how imbalanced it is. It's so woefully imbalanced that I just flat out avoid a lot of the maps because they never play any different, and you know how they're going to go. What's the point in playing 128 player modes if there's so many vehicles that I'm forced to stay within the same couple of objectives the entire game? There's no point in trying to move between objectives because there are not enough dedicated transport vehicles on the map at any one time, and all of the ones you can call in from the little tablet thing, guess what? They all have offensive capabilities, which, it would be fine if it was less annoying to come across. How many times have you been running towards a different objective just to get killed by a bolt, or to get killed by a hovercraft, or to get killed by a jeep? When there are so few quad bikes, so few cars, there are no boats in the game at all. There is just there's no way of easily getting from objective to objective if you're mostly infantry. And in no other place is this more apparent than when you just spawn in. If you don't get a vehicle to spawn in on, or if you don't get to spawn in on a vehicle, you're out of luck. You're done for. You got to spend the next 2 minutes running towards the next objective, because the first objective is going to always be captured, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. You got to run. This game is running simulator, and it's boring until you can find a vehicle, and then you go towards the next objective, and then 3 enemy vehicles will just straight up destroy you immediately. And it doesn't even stop there. From there, we can look at the fact that there is no dedicated anti-vehicle specialist, and any specialist that is kind of anti-vehicle is woefully inefficient. Sundance might have great grenades that just don't track onto what you're aiming at, and Rao might have a hacking thing, but so what? Vehicle drivers can just drive away. They can just fly away, go away, like resupply, heal up, anything, and they can just come straight back and ruin your day again. The actual combat between infantry and armor is straight up just unthought out. There has been no design there. There has been very little testing there, if any, and it's so obvious. So why, then, do you make it even worse by, I don't want to say getting rid of the class system, because the class system can still make a return, whether DICE likes it or not. You can make a class system with the specialists still involved, but without the class system, there is no team play. You make it worse because you allow people to freely choose an armor plate instead of freely choosing rocket launchers or stingers or SOFLAMs. You make it worse for players because there is too much choice. Sure, you can go Angel, you can be a really useful Angel, and you can go Falc and still be really useful. No one wants to be forced into that kind of style. at all. And then you make it even worse by having 4 specialists in the game that can straight up just spot you through walls. Boris' sentry gun is so overpowered to the fact that it doesn't even need to hit you before it has spotted you. And when it does hit you, you go down in 3 hits. Breakthrough is nearly impossible to win on a map like Kaleidoscope because of how many turrets are just sat there on the floor, constantly beeping and firing away. Rao can hack an enemy, kill that enemy, and everyone around him is just done for. Then there's Pike, who might have a balancing quote-unquote feature, where when she uses her ability, she is then spotted. But there have been so many times when I've tried to flank a group of people to fire at the first person I see and to see location revealed on the bottom of my screen just hits me with a depression so hard that no amount of medication can cure it. There is no flanking in this game because of her. Why make a specialist that is purely dedicated to seeing you at all times? Where is the team play in that? That's someone going out for themselves. That's someone who doesn't care, who wants easy mode, doesn't want to challenge themselves, doesn't want to risk their own life, in game. Doesn't want to risk their blood pressure outside the game either. Just still alters mine, living in my head rent-free. And then there is Casper, who most of the time you will never see on the battlefield because instead he will be sitting behind a rock on Breakthrough or in the middle of nowhere on Conquest, just flying his little drone around, clicking. Gameplay has been boiled down to such a simple degree in this game where all you gotta do is click with a drone and win. Like, why? There's no need for it. Why not just have a traditional spotting system? Why is that not enough for you? Instead, you've got to include all these other ways. The specialists themselves just don't add anything. They take away team flow. Because everyone is there crying about vehicles and helicopters, but yet no one is actively taking the role. Instead, they would rather stick with their medic pens. They would rather stick with their armor plates or proximity sensors or frag grenades instead of smoke. It's things that would relatively be useful. Oh, and even the smoke isn't consistent anymore because you just have to do a little menu exploit and you just don't get smoke anymore. You can see straight through it. So an enemy team, thinking they are covered, will push right into your line of fire because you can see them. The maps have been so clearly undesigned by anyone of actual, merit that from launch day, the community was screaming that we need more cover. We need more this, we need more that. We desperately need an overhaul of most of the maps, if not all of them. Because they just get so unplayable. They get so repetitive. They get so boring. In Battlefield 4, an elevator was kind of a meme, right? You would just get in the elevator, and there might be someone with a shotgun standing on the other side waiting for you, but at least you had a shot. Now, you just put down some shields, and you sit there and wait for the elevator to open. You just fire away. No skill involved. It's ridiculous. How did this get through? Why is it that we have to rely on a character that so few people play in the right moment for any kind of cover, for any kind of explosive resistance at all? There have been specialists that I've just done nothing with because I'm trying to focus on the team. I'm trying to push objectives. I'm trying to contest objectives, and I cannot do it with any of these people. Because I gotta either take the rocket launcher and be a dedicated vehicle takedown man, or I take the ammo box or health box, and then I lose my anti-vehicle capability. And there is no in between. I'm either defenseless or I'm not. But even then, I feel defenseless because the rocket launcher takes so long to reload that by the time you've actually got that second shell in, it's over. You're done. They know where you are. They found you. It's ridiculous. And it's so... I'm just frustrated. I'm bored. I'm frustrated because I wanted this game to be good. You've taken so many steps back in terms of level design, game design, weapon design. There's nothing interesting here to see. There's no tone. There's no atmosphere. There are more colors in Battlefield 4 than there are in this game. And that's an impressive feat. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just simply stating that you compare 4 to 1, It's night and day. Battlefield 1 had so much colour, so much vibrance, and yet still managed to be so dark, so gritty, so immersive. And there is none of that in this game. At all. There's just so little to keep me interested. I can't even play any kind of campaign-oriented mission to get a sense of what I'm supposed to be doing. But that doesn't matter anyway, because even if there was a campaign, it would still be a laugh and a giggle for these specialists. How can you say the world is on the brink of collapse, and yet it's just, don't be sad, this is just how it works out sometimes? Or some other cringeworthy line from Angel or McKay or Sundance. It's so ridiculous that I just don't want to play anymore. And that's not even the most of it. I've sat here for, oh my god, it's been like 10 minutes. I've been sat here. I haven't even spoken about Hazard Zone. Hazard Zone is a dead game mode. That's all I'm saying about Hazard Zone. So, it's just Portal now. And what a complete mistreating of something that was supposed to be community-oriented. Not even Portal can save this game mode. You look at the Portal server list now, and there's just no one there. There's only a few populated servers, and even then, most of them are only halfway populated. You have to actually search for a non-custom experience to play what is quote-unquote true remasters. And even then, most of the player count is going to be AI, because there's still no one playing it. And I was just disappointed. Like, I don't even think they realize why these maps should have been included or should not have been included. I mean, what's the desert one from 1942? A single search will show you that the reason that that's a favorite map for a lot of players is because it's very vehicle oriented. There's a lot of space to fly and drive around. It's a very vehicle driven map. And you can look at it, there is no cover at all. Play that map on 128 players, you will see how few pieces of cover there are for anything. Sure, it might be cinematic as hell, but it's unbalanced too. Then let's get to what is clearly an insult to Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. The Battle of the Bulge. Man, I have never seen so many reused assets from previous games in my entire life. There are buildings ripped straight from Battlefield 5. Churches ripped straight from Battlefield 1. Hell, there's an ammo shell, like a discarded shell pile from artillery weaponry, just on the floor, directly ripped from Battlefield 1 with the exact same sound effects. How can you mix these two up and still make an underwhelming map? How can you mix these two up and still make me want to play the other games more? Like, the only interesting thing that they seem to have done with anything from those two ports is they managed to take a freeze frame of the church in ruin and make it a part of the map. Wow, good job. Now, can we get on to actually porting over more maps? Can I please finally have the experience of playing St. Quentin Scar with 128 players? Can I please experience Siege of Shanghai with 128 players so I can hate it more? Can I please experience anything that's decent? And I don't want to sound too rough, but I never got the chance to play Battlefield Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 or 1942. That was before me. That was before I got into gaming seriously. So all I have to base it on is 3 titles that just don't exist. Instead, you would rather port them over. You would rather just include the assets and be done with it. It's an insult to me personally, because if you could port over those building assets and those model assets and somehow make them less detailed and worse, why couldn't you have ported over movement or gunplay? Why couldn't you have ported over weapon design? What was it that one guy said? An individual weapon design for 24 weapons in the main game is an overwhelming task, or a very difficult task. Dude, if another team can do that, if another team can make a multitude of skins in Battlefield 5 that still wrap over weapons nicely, no matter what the weapon is, why can't your team do it? Why can't your team make really interesting designs that aren't just a slightly different shade of blue or black? Why is the shotgun skin from Week 1 challenge the most interesting skin you got? Why is it that this game just feels so undercooked and clearly needed another year in development. But still you act like it's a full release. Still you act like it's fine. Still you're silent. You have not said a word. If you just acknowledge the state your game is in as a studio, if you acknowledge that it simply needed more time, or even better yet, how about this? Just take the game off the Steam store. I'm being serious. Take the game off the Steam store. Keep players' progress. Take it off the Steam store. Just get rid of any trace of it, right, from the Steam store. Redo it. Relaunch the game in maybe 16 months' time when it's done. Remarket the game. Show us actual gameplay. Show us issues that you have fixed in 16 months' time. Re-release the game and see what happens. I don't even think that would be enough. I generally don't even think that would be enough because I know people wouldn't even bother coming back. People wouldn't even pay attention because you couldn't get it right the first time. What's even worse is we weren't even 2 months into the life cycle and you had already announced that your next game was about 6 months away. Why are you working on another title when this one is in such disarray? Why are you admitting that you're making a hero shooter? Well, we don't need a hero shooter. We need a finished game. Why are you admitting with full confidence that you think that the specialist system is a step forward when it's clearly a step back in team play, when it's clearly a step back in game design? How are you calling a missing scoreboard? How are you calling missing voice chat, all chat, leaderboards, anything? Why are you calling these legacy features? These are not legacy features. These are a basic standard for any multiplayer. It's just overwhelmingly absurd. I'm sat here, I'm getting more and more frustrated because the more and more I think about what this game could have been and what we actually have, it's just annoying as all hell. Explain to me how an in-depth comparison of the visual designs in Battlefield 5 and this game's Portal Mode 1942 remaster are night and day different. How can Battlefield 5 be so much more detailed in its level design and its weapon design and its vehicle design or whatever? How can that be the case? This is supposed to be a remaster. Why does it feel like it's just a port over without any actual thought put into it? It's ridiculous and it's insulting to every single person who's playing it. And what's really funny is that today, I go onto YouTube to look and see if there's any news about an update that might be dropping on the date of Thursday the 13th, which there is not. And I see that people are reporting a cheat provider has stopped providing their SIS services to 2042, not because of the anti-cheat, but because the game's performance is so shoddy the software won't even run properly. What a time to be alive where not even your half-baked game can run cheats properly. And obviously I don't condone cheaters, I don't support that idea at all, but still, it's stupid. If the previous few games can still have cheaters in them because they're fun and the system works, why can't this one? Why is this one so shoddy that not even the cheaters want to try? Why is this game so poor that it won't even allow bad players to feel good for once? And I want to add my suggestions. I want to keep, a positive, open mind about how this game could change, but I just don't think they would listen. I don't think they would care. Because what we want as a community is so vastly different to what they want to give us. And sure, they've made missteps in the past. Sure, huge missteps, complete blunders of a misstep. The most obvious being Battlefield 5's release trailer, Battlefield 5's launch in general, the TTK 2.0, the update 5.2 from Battlefield 5. That one basically killed the game for a second time. But it's not like they kept it. It's not like they kept it that way. They compromised. And that's what makes me realize to the fullest extent that DICE is just, it's over. There is so few people left in DICE that used to work on 1 or 5. And instead what we have is this team that seems to have no idea what they're doing or how to communicate any ideas to us at all. Why is there no public test environment where you can push these ideas in and see what the community feedback is? Do you just not care what we think? Even if you gave us a public test environment, would you allow us to test the game and still not take what we have to say on board? Why do we have to scream and shout all the time that we need these fixes immediately for you to say, oh, these are in the works, but then not release finished fixes instantly? I mean, it gets to the point where I think that maybe you're finally learning from your previous mistakes. Maybe these updates are taking so long now because you're actually testing them in-house. You're actually testing your own updates to make sure that when you leave a vehicle, you can look up or down, or that you can revive teammates that are sat next to, a small wall. Or maybe I'm just optimistic. Maybe I just think you're taking your time and making sure that they work, on the one person that's testing it first. But then, what then? What if you release Update 4 and it breaks the game? What if you release Update 4 and it introduces so many more issues than it fixes, like previous updates have? I really wanted this to be the game. I really wanted this to be what would make my hobby as a creator really take off, really give me the fuel and the drive to make things. But instead, all I have is a video about the beta, a video about Update 3, which wasn't even about Update 3 because I still didn't have fun. And then I have one other video in the works, and I have this, where I'm just sitting here and I'm ranting and raving like a madman. I don't even know if I'm including most of this, but it just feels like I'm wasting my time. And not because of a subscriber count, not because of a viewer count, but because even if that does happen, even when people find this one day, it still means nothing. It means nothing when the game died before it was 1 year old. Dead on arrival. And what's even more ridiculous is that someone said this game will be dead on arrival if it is not delayed. And yet here we are. Dead on arrival. It's going between 8,500 to 6,500 on a daily basis. How can you lose 92 to 93% of your player base with such efficiency and still be silent and still not acknowledge the state it's in? Am I making sense here? Am I actually speaking English? You need to respond, and you need to do it quickly. You need to acknowledge this. If you don't, there will be no one left to enjoy this. There will be no one left to experience this brand new map and new specialist that you keep raving on about. Why can't you just try things from a different perspective for once? Why can't you listen to the community for once? And obviously I don't mean everyone. There's Drunksy, who is always replying to people about acknowledging different things or saying different things are in the works. Kudos to him. Good job. What about the rest of you? What about the rest of you that are sitting there and saying this is too hard, or this is too much, or this is overwhelming? Frankly, if it was that hard, you should have pushed for it to be delayed. You should have pushed for it to have more time, to give you more experience with the engine that you yourself created for this game. If you knew it was going to be a monumentous task, why bother? If you knew the destruction was going to be dumbed down to the extent where it's just a copy-paste texture on a lot of buildings, or if it's just the same hole repeated over and over again when you blast a hole into a wall, why even bother showing us that your destruction engine was miles ahead of anything we've ever seen? Why even lie at that point? You envelop yourself in your own lie, and then that's it. You believe it. Oh, but our game is great. Our game is solid. No, I got news for you, man. I have news for you. Your game is absolute shit. Your game is so bad that I had a meltdown when I learned that one of my other friends bought the game just to play with me and my other friend. I wanted to scream at him and tell him to refund it immediately, but at the end of the day, if he wants to experience it for an hour or 90 minutes, I'd gladly rather him do that, so that he understands where we're coming from. The fact is, though, you probably won't even be able to enjoy the game Because while his PC isn't up to our standards, me and my friends both having 3080s and 3090s, while his PC might not be up to that kind of grade, it's not like he has a shit PC. It's not like his PC is incapable of doing anything, but he still won't be able to enjoy the game. I still will have to tell him how to edit the config to make the game look like garbage, but still run at a decent frame rate. I've still got to tell him like what to change or what to avoid. Like it's just ridiculous, and I'm just so done, and it's so insulting too, because I finally accept that this game is holding me back. I'm not a bad player, and obviously anyone can sit here and go, "Oh, I'm not a bad player. I'm a really good player," but I'm not a bad player. You will find me in previous titles at the top of the scoreboard, contesting objectives, really being a pain in the ass of any enemy that I face. You know, it feels good, feels great. It feels like I'm achieving something. It makes my dopamine levels go off the charts. But in this game, I'm just absolute shit, and that's not my fault. I cannot do anything against the meta except join it, and I despise it. I cannot do anything with a shitty frame rate. I cannot do anything where the balance is so poor. I cannot do anything when I don't have cover or options. I don't even have strength as an individual player in the game. You've oriented your game around a squad-based teamwork, but there are no teamwork elements to be found, because guess what? No voice chat. No way of communicating besides quickly spammed letters in the squad chat begging for help, by which point it's already too late and everyone's dead. It's just not fun. It's not good. I don't understand how. And I think that's what's bugging me the most. It's just how. It's a middle finger to everyone that wanted to enjoy this game, that wanted to believe and support in this game. You showed us a product that looked ready to go. You told us it was ready. You told us it was ahead of schedule. You told us that it had everything that we wanted to see from the next step forward in the series. And instead, what we got was just nothing. We got just a directionless copy of other games. I made a joke, joke quote unquote. I made a statement in the video I'm working on where this game is not Battlefield. This game is Battlefield Warzone Legend of the Apex Predators. Because that's what it feels like. There is so little Battlefield in this title, but instead there's just more Call of Duty, there's more Halo, there's more Apex Legends. You got rid of everything that gave Battlefield its soul, and you made it corporate. You got rid of everything that gave it immersion and atmosphere, and instead replaced it with the most bare bones thing you could find. 2042 wasn't even supposed to be a Battlefield title in its full extent. It was supposed to be Battle Royale, and that was scrapped. Good for you. That's like one of the only good decisions you made, to scrap the Battle Royale and instead make it its own separate mode. A mode which, by the way, should be free, just like Firestorm should have been free. Because free-to-play models for those kind of games generate more income on average now than any other mode. Why do you think Warzone is popular? Why do you think Apex is popular? Why do you think Halo Infinite's multiplayer is popular? It's because it's free-to-play. And you're still behind the times. And it was an insult too when you made the game free-to-play a month and a half after release. What was your game plan? You didn't acknowledge that it was a desperate move then. You're not going to acknowledge it next time. Instead, what we're going to have to do is sit here and accept what we're given. But we won't, because, Steam, being the gods of gaming they apparently are, still issuing refunds, even though people have tens of hours in this game. Because this game is not the product it was marketed out to be. You blew it, DICE. You really did. I had all the faith in the world that you could make this something spectacular. And instead, this game's going to go down in history as one of the worst launches and worst rated games ever. I just can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I'm out of steam. What an absolute state this game is in. I didn't even touch over everything I would have wanted to talk about, but I don't care. I needed to get stuff off my chest. Hopefully, this game will turn around. Hopefully, this game will get the fixes it needs and doesn't really deserve, but hopefully, one day, it'll get what it needs, and I just don't know if I'm going to be there to enjoy it, though. I don't know if that's it. I just don't know. I'm going to give it a week, I think. I'm going to give it a week and see what they say, see when the next update is coming, and if there's radio silence or no new update, I just think I'm going to get my refund. I'll wait for it to come back on sale in a year's time. Well, I'll check the Steam play accounts first, but if it's popping off, then good for the game. But right now, it's not popping off, and it just doesn't deserve my time. Doesn't deserve the temperatures that it's giving my PC, you know? Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. I'm hurt. My trust in the company is gone. My faith in the company is gone. At this point, I'm just riding on, the 5 stages of grief, goddammit. But hey, if you found this video, thanks for listening all the way through. Thanks for your patience and listening to me ramble and rant on. Yeah, I have another video for 2042 coming out soon, but more than likely that'll be my final one, out of 4. And if you enjoyed, give a thumbs up, subscribe. Hopefully I'll never need to make a video like this again, but if I do, then, well, we all have that to look forward to, right? So, yeah, this has been South Moon. See you guys later. Enjoy your day.